So this is the day after the third. Did everybody get the second win? It is. It's true, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, it's a very joyous time for me to share the Dharma with everyone. And actually, people listen. I think they listen. Uh, I've been looking at a lot of footnotes, and I think this talk will just be based on footnotes. Footnotes are so interesting, although they still can't, you can't explain it with the words. The words is not reality. It's only the meaning behind the words is reality. That's where we come in. But if we become attached to the words, you cannot receive reality. Okay? And we go back to Ango Arjuna that I mentioned last time. And before, when I was a younger speaker or a younger teacher, I thought I should repeat anything. But repeating is good because people usually do not hear and need the repetition of it over and over, including myself, over and over again until we get it. And then we still repeat again. So I think one thing that moved me was Nagihara Juna. And he, I have some marks somewhere about what he said. And we could start with this footnote. This is from the Lankavatara Sutra. Footnote 267, section 25. This section follows from the previous one and examines the four aspects from which a self can be postulated to exist or not to exist. The Buddha rejects both sides of this issue, whether the self exists or not exists. This is because the aspects that are asserted or denied neither exist nor do not exist. They exist as words, as concepts, but not as anything real. And this was Nagihara argument. What were the dates of Nagihara? Pretty. Well, it was after Bodhidharma. Okay. So when he also presented the middle way. People call it the middle way, but it's not in the middle. The middle is not such a good the center, but actually it dissolved the extremes, the left and the right, the polarity, existence, non-existence. It dissolved them. So would you call that the middle, or it's something greater than the middle? Huh? It's not the middle way. It's beyond the opposites. That's what. It's not in between. It's beyond the opposites. That's the middle. That's the heart. That's the center. And the opposites is what we work with. We don't fight against. They work with us. And in our zazen, your opposites will dissolve, but you have yet to realize it. In fact, it's already dissolved, but you just have not reawakened to the fact that you already realized. You already have the Buddha nature, but yet, but yet you still have to have a personal realization of Buddha's nature. See, and as I said before, and if you don't, I think that happened to me many years ago, but I didn't know it, and the teachers knew it, but they never said anything about it. They didn't say you have it. They just let me become aware of it myself. So Nagahara Juno was great because in those days when they presented, they had big discussions, profound discussions. I mean, this was, I mean, it was before all technology, no TV, no airplanes. I mean, people did things uh, not far away, but within themselves, things they were struggling with, and they had the same plagues or wars. And many of our great ancestors were princes from king and queen's families, like Buddha, he was a princess. Bodhidharma was another princess. Uh, well, let me say a little bit about Bodhidharma. The late Boomju painted the Bodhidharma for me before he died, and the Bodhidharma has eyelids, so that's rare. Legend has it, like that one behind Mary. Legend has it that he sat, and so he didn't want to fall asleep, so he cut off his eyelids. But they tried to solve him because when the eyelids fell to the ground, the lotus, oh, the tea plant originated. But actually, Bodhidharma is a legend, but also he was a human being with the same feelings we had. That's how I'm seeing all the ancestors now. They're legends. Buddha was not a legend, but they were human beings. And even at the age of 4, he knew the value of the Dharma already when he was 4 years old. And Prasantara, who was the ancestor before Bodhidharma, uh, knew that he was very profound. He had profundity at a young age, so he guided him. Already, his name wasn't Bodhidharma. It was another name. I forgot the name. Huh?
Naruma.
Daruma?
Yes.
No, not Daruma. No, Daruma means Bodhidharma.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, when he was young, his name. But anyway, little Bodhidharma, okay? So, so he already sat. He had already achieved some kind of realization, and Prasantara recognized it. And he would do that by himself. And then under Prasantara's guidance, he was with his teacher for 60 years. That kind of resolve. I mean, we're in America, we have to have, people don't have that strong resolve anymore. Not even when so bad things are happening all over the world. Doesn't make you want to do something, find out what's going on. There were wars and plagues in those days just as well as now. So he was with his teacher, Prajnatar, for 60 years. And at the end of 60 years, Prajnatar asked him to go to China. It wasn't Bodhidharma's wish, but it was his teacher's wish to bring the Dharma to China. And so Bodhidharma did. But it was at the risk of his life. He took a boat from Sri Lanka down to Malaysia, Indochina, Sumatra, and then up to China. And he landed in southern China. And the people really didn't know who he was. They thought he was some kind of Brahmin, maybe learning Zazen or something. But it began like the uh, Zen experience. He was confronted by the emperor because the emperor was a very proud person, and he had built all these temples. And he asked Bodhidharma, do I get any merit for this? And Bodhidharma spontaneously said, there's no merit in building a temple. And I said this story many times, the emperor could have your head cut off. So he had no fear. But he said what was true. There's no there's no there's no merit. And then the emperor looked a little bit disturbed and he said, who are you? He says, I don't know. Boy, he could have gotten chopped twice. And so Bodhidharma knew that the, the emperor was far from being who he thought he was. So he left and he traveled up north. And there's no writings that I know of it. How did he walk? I don't think they had horseback. Of course, there are no cars. So he made it from southern China all the way up, and he crossed the Yangtze. Yangtze means long river. I crossed the great Yangtze and he ended up in Shaolin, little forest. And actually, in I think it was the early 80s, we would have visited a cave, and it's still bigger than the office of Sonoma. It's a small cave, and he sat there for 9 years. And so when he sat there for 9 years, the longer he sat, the more the other people, the other so-called Buddhists, knew that he was a real McCoy. How could you sit that long? And he didn't say anything. And kids, they didn't give him a proper place to stay. They didn't give him a mat to sit on. Kids threw rocks at him. Dogs barked at him. So that was the situation. But and people, uh, Bodhichi, his disciple tried to poison him. They did it many times. They failed, but one time they finally succeeded. But anyway, that was Bodhidharma. And these people struggle uh, relentlessly to share the Dharma. There's, it's easy to get enlightenment. Just hurry up and get it. Return to your own enlightenment and help people. That's the most important thing. And that's what this Lankavatara Sutra is. Not dwelling on enlightenment, which is uh, well, the Theravadan tradition is enlightened earlier. And in the book here, it tells the difference between Theravada and Mahayana. So even though, uh, we had learned the Theravadas were called the Hinayana. Hinayana means the little vehicle. Mahayana means the big vehicle. But actually, most of you here are the little vehicle because you're striving for your self-realization, right? That's what I did for nobody else but for yourself. Isn't it true? So you're Theravada, Hinayana. But the difference between the Hinayana and the Mahayana, even though the Hinayana has realization, which is a true realization, all the hairs stand up on their arm, it's still not enough because it's about self. Arhat is about self-realization. Okay, the difference between Theravada and Mahayana is that the Mahayana vows to help all people in their realization. So when the Mahayana training practitioners get to that 6 or 7 bhumi, bhumi means stage in Chinese. It means uh, uh, E E is the ground. So there's 10 bhumis. So the caravan goes up to maybe 6, 7, and and they achieve the realization, and they think that's it. So that's where they stop. But so when we do it, but we have to keep going. So until you get to, and this is where the Theravadas and the Mahayana part, and this is step 8, 9, 10. That's the Bodhisattva stage, and the Bodhisattva stage is the 10th is Tathagata. You become Buddha. I'll get back to the eighth and ninth. With the names, I think it's Cloud Dharma, something like that is number 9. But you need to worry about it. Just your sitting is the most important thing. Okay? Okay. So that's Bodhidharma. And Nagarjuna, every time there was an argument, a big discussion between people from all other traditions, he, he said, it's not valid. Your discussion is not valid because everything you say is an arbitrary designation. It's not real. So he wanted all these arguments. It's kind of interesting. When we say snake, the word is not real. When we say rope, the rope is not real because we have not seen its essence. What, as long as it is an arbitrary designation, it's outside of ourselves. Everything's, we live in an imaginary world. Everything is outside. We are fabrication, projection. We're not living in the real world until you have that nature. You see your own nature. And then the doors open, and your relationship between subject, and object is different. Even a speck of dust has a nature. So when you pick up the speck of dust, you pick it up with that dignity. It's a toilet paper. Everything, the light, book, everything has its nature. That's a completely different world. And on TV you see people cleaning up the beaches. That's good, but we're not interested in cleaning up the beach. We're interested in cleaning up the beaches in our mind. So it prevents people from throwing garbage all over the world. That's where it starts, not out there. Out there is what the world lives on. It's in here that prevents that from happening out there. Very simple. Okay, Nagarjuna. So he was brilliant. And I think the word emptiness comes from him. And this is a book as it is by Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche. And he was he was one of the great Rinpoches of the 20th century. He was maybe one of the teachers of Karmapa. But actually, the Dalai Lama is great, but actually he's lower. But the Karmapa and these other lamas are higher. The Dalai Lama is pretty good too. And so he was a teacher of all these. So I'll just read you something that I spoke of emptiness. And empty, empty is void in space, but emptiness, Ness, or shunyata, Ta, is infused with cognition, infused with knowing. So that's why in writing you don't see empty, just the word empty, but you see emptiness. So that activates the void. Okay, there's the difference. And so they have interesting words: Uttama, Ati, Unuttara, Abhi. These are like the highest levels of teaching in the Dharma. So I'll read you a paragraph. Let's start with mindfulness. In order to find our way out of the unaware and the mistaken clinging to duality. We're caught by duality, good and the bad, the long and the short, the dark and the light. And we cling to it. Caught up in the thinking in a dualistic way. Oh, yeah, in a dualistic way that has gone on endlessly in samsara. Endlessly. We began with mindfulness. However, it has a definite dualistic connotation. It is like putting a hook in a piece of meat and holding it there. There's a subject keeping an eye on the object. That's dualistic. There is a more subtle level called watchfulness, which is mere noticing. And then there's still another, even more subtle level called subtlety, subtly dualistic, which is the watchfulness and the noticing is subtly dualistic. Even more subtle than watchfulness is wakefulness. That is the point of separating Sam and Rigpa. Sam is of delusion and enlightenment. Sam, the dualistic frame of mind. That's what we work with every day, or we live with every day. Means involvement with thoughts of either past, present, or future. Rigpa simply means uninvolvement in thoughts of past, present, or future. So it's pretty obvious when you think about what you are doing every day, wherever you are. You are involved in the past, present, and future. What is in front of you, you are thinking of something else. You're not here. That's what it means. The practice, the training practice is for you to be aware. Where are you? What are you doing? Huh? Isn't that the point? And if that is the point, we don't understand that we are living a life of fiction, of just projection. One of the students, he was in Washington, he was helping a student, and he was reading from the Lankavatara Sutra, and it said the Buddha refers these people as foolish people. And the person who was reading it, she said, I don't, that doesn't make me feel good that I'm a foolish person. But she is foolish because they don't know the difference between what is real and unreal. The snake, the metaphor of the snake and the rope is very interesting. So you have imaginary reality is what people live by. They have no training. They live by ignorance. When they see a snake and a rope, they say it's a snake. That's how people live. A dependent reality is a little bit more. It's a little bit. This is a step up maybe, And dependent reality means things are not of itself. Everything depends on itself, and they see the vote. But that, as Naga Arjuna says, that I just love the definition. That is arbitrary designation. It's just a name, temporary name for something that is not true, is not real. Rope or snake, they're both not true. Isn't that neat? So, so it also means whatever you see is not true. And it's the personal realization of Buddha's knowledge that breaks the chain, the conditioned habit. And the thing is that you already have it, but you don't know it. So in Dzogchen, Dzogchen, Tibetan Buddhism, Dzogchen says, oh, and Dzogchen, the name Dzogchen means the great perfection. Beautiful word. I mean, nowadays, perfection, I don't think it's a good word. No one uses it for virtue, perfection. But the great perfection, because it includes everything. It includes all your delusions. Because how can people realize it, they don't realize, they have to realize the delusion that you have it, that you don't have it. And that's where your realization is. So there's no need to grasp, to look out. It's all here. Uh, in fact, in some yoga school, it's called mind only. This is interesting. You should understand what mind or consciousness only means. So somewhere in your meditation practice, you begin to know this unknown, and it's like the diamond seed that you're sitting on is referring to Buddha seed. It's not just a zafu. Uh, in fact, it said before you reach to your zafu, you already have it. 80% is accomplished. And when you sit on your zafu, you don't have it. I mean, because it means it's the Zen saying, when the donkey leaves, the horse has arrived. That's what it says. That's what it means. But you have to train and practice yourself and realize that it is the truth. Before the donkey leaves, before the delusion leaves, realization is there. Okay? Good news. The weather's kind today for us. Yeah. The second wind has come up. So, okay. Oh, so this goes back to Sam and Ripa. And the reason why this Tibetan teaching is Trungpa and Suzuki a very close relationship, even though they met 4 times. But basically, this it says talks about Zen just in a different way, but the same thing. Yeah, we left off with thoughts of either past, present, or future. Rigpa simply means uninvolvement in the thoughts, in your projections. When are we not projecting? The question to ask. You can kind of guide yourself during the day. Oh, I'm projecting. You'd be surprised how many times you're projecting. You're never where you are. Huh? Is it true? So this is the training and the practice. Not just practice, but you have to train. You have to re-own what you have. Okay. The Buddha mind, Rigpa, is undivided empty cognizance. The moment we recognize that this is so and see this in actuality is called undivided empty cognizance, suffused with knowing. Empty here means primordially unformed, not made out of any cause or condition whatsoever, already devoid of any concrete substance. Cognizance means that while being empty, the capacity to know is spontaneously present. Undivided means that these two aspects, primordially unformed emptiness and spontaneously present cognizance, are indivisible. They have always been indivisible unity. And this is what all the teachings of all the Buddha dharmas are about. Indivisible. So, I mean, uh, I know I said yesterday, but the other day is that Harvard has a course on mindfulness, and I'm not happy about it because the culture or media or education gets these things and they turn it into what they want. Because mindfulness is insight. Mindfulness is half of it. It's not the complete, not what did Nahant presented to America. Mindfulness goes with insight. And mindfulness, it has done. I mean, it reduces people's anxieties and things like that. But it's misused, especially when a few people make tons of money from it in classes. So anyway, it's that's what happens. So I'm not impressed at Harvard or even Stanford when they approve of these traditions that are thousands of years old. I mean, psychology is like 100 or 150. They're babies, but these are thousands of years old. They've been tried and proven. They are unrivaled in truth. Okay, teachings of all the Buddha Dharma. Okay, Toko Buddhi Rinpoche. This is a um, what I mentioned. There are four aspects to all the sutras that have been written about, and it's to gladden people's hearts, to make people happy, truly happy, joyous, not just happy, joy, because they know how to live. That's what the sutras are written about. And what is it? Emptiness, non-arising, non-dualism, and no self-existence. There's two parts in that: the self, the ego self, and what belongs to the ego self. Okay, this book is really wondrous because not many books or sutras are written with a dialogue between Buddha and someone. It's Shariputra with Avalokiteshvara, not even Buddha, but this is specifically. And the whole book is Mahamati Bodhisattva has a chance to ask Buddha 1,000 questions. And these questions are not limited to Asia, they are the world questions about religion. Because Brahman is the same as God. the creator outside of ourselves. It's the same questions. So that's why it's really exciting. But it's dense. Okay, so here's a Sanskrit term, anu, anu, tika, dharma, shanti. And the attainment of this realization that nothing has arisen, the attainment of this realization that nothing has arisen, now arises or will arise, marks the eighth, essentially final stage of the Bodhisattva path. Ninth, as the ninth and 10th stages are where the Tathagata dwells. Yeah, I have there's another word here. It's called the forbearance of non-rising. So what does the word forbearance mean to you? You forbear something. It's such a strong word, huh? Forbear, forbearance. It's you tolerate. It's patience, constancy, self-control, but forbear is even heavier. To really get it, forbearance. That's what it means when you forbear. The word is old, too old to use today. I don't see it anywhere, but the word has lots of meaning that the people, I mean, it's old fashioned, but people are losing it. It should bring these words back by their training and practice. When you forbear something, you have resolve. No one else is going to do it for you. You have to have this resolve, the forbearance, the commitment. Most people will drop out. It's not for many people. That's the truth. You have maybe a song of 100 people, maybe 20 people practice. But even Buddha, one was enough. Ango Sesshin, hundreds, hundreds of hundreds of disciples he had. Okay, so the first woman Roshi in the Rinzai tradition, her name was Mugai Myodai. So Mu means like no, Mu, Gai outside, no outside. That's her Dharma enlightened name, her her enlightened name. And then the other two characters we need that is Neo Dai. Dai means great, Neo means just as it is. So one is that is her name is the essence of that. No outside. So when you go outside in your mind, please return back. See how many times you go outside during the day. Outside means projection. You know, be here. This is the most important thing. Mugai Yodai. Good name. And Yogichara school, Vasubandhu, one of our ancestors, he was one of the greatest. Uh, all these teachings are to make us like adept. How we can be real training practitioners. You know, adept. And Vasubandhu, he was one of the greatest practitioners and also uh, translators, and presented us the 30 verses. I may have read this not 100 times, but many times. But because look at my notes on it. You see how old this is? And it's 30 verses, but in those days he got it. And it's all in verses. I'm not sure if they wrote books in those days. Maybe it was in verse poetry. It's really beautiful when you think about it. And in Lamatar, it is in uh, regular writing, and then the Buddha makes a verse. It's beautiful. I don't know. In the old days, there were verses, but nowadays, no one makes verses. I have a verse. It's on the bulletin board. The backward step leads forward. Echo hand show. Throughout the millions, trillions seasons, space has generously received this light. Eloquence beyond the speed of sound and color. Alights only on one spot, the tallest trees, the highest mountains, and our unrivaled joy. Echo Henshaw. So it took me many years to understand what they mean by mind only or consciousness only, because you're not looking outside anymore. Something, the skandhas have changed. The makeup of your fake self has changed. And they're not reacting that much. And sometimes, one of these times in the Zendo, you should realize as you're sitting, you should be aware that everything in the room has the same essence, the same value, everything. From the flowers, to the piece of paper, to the floor, to the altar. That's a good place. So uh, that's very close because non-discriminating. Thinking mind is discriminating. It's non-discrimination, and it's also your mind is not activated. It's also non-arising. So you're seeing things, not comparing things, but you're seeing things as it is. That's a Zen term, as it is. Non-discrimination means as it is. And so like in Takahatsu, that's the highest thing you could do when you beg for food. Non-discrimination, non-arising. Whatever they give you, or whatever they don't give you, or they cuss at you, you receive it as it is. You don't discriminate, but you continue your journey. Because right away, when we get our food, oh, I'm showing it like that. But it's so subtle and it happens so often because we're so conditioned. Okay, so I'll finish with the end of this of the end of this 30 verses. I'll start. The title of this is called uh, the 30 verses on the teachings of mere manifestation. So this mere manifestation, as things appear, is what we consider as reality. But this mere manifestation can dissolve into things as it is. That's when we see things truly, we see reality. And at the same time we see reality, reality sees us. Okay? So I'll start with verse 26. And so in the West, or maybe East as well, perception, the soundness are really highly valued. Consciousness is not valued because it's subject and object again. It's separation. As long as consciousness does not dwell in the nature of mere manifestation as it is, as long as consciousness is not there, the residues of dual grasping cannot come to an end. Dual grasping is the subject and object, the dualities. As long as consciousness is active, it cannot come to an end because it's always subject and object, which creates suffering. Okay? 26. 27. Although there may be perception, one of the skandhas, all this is mere manifestation because this still involves in the object of perception. In front of it, it does not yet really dwell in mere that, meaning as it is. 28. But when the mind no longer grasps at objects of consciousness, it will stop at mere consciousness. Because you know there's nothing outside. It stops at consciousness itself. For without any object to grasp, there is no longer any grasping. You're free. 29. It is without discrimination, it is without attainment that the super mundane wisdom operates when the double incapacity, the duality, when the double incapacity, grasping and grasper, is abandoned, is dissolved. The transformation at the base is realized. That's your realization. And how do you do that? The forbearance of non-doing. By doing nothing, you have everything. That's very hard to do. It takes a lot of training and practice. Non-doing. Because we're all doing something, producing something, creating something. But now, for once in 24 hours, we're non-doing. Non-arising. In this realm of non-setback, inconceivable, beneficial, stable, bliss, body of liberation, called the Dharma body of great sage. Number 30. Okay, that's it. Thank you.